But the team that they're not going to have a chance against still is the Atlanta Braves because they just locked up their catcher by extending Sean Murphy to a 6 year, $73 million contract. This takes him through his last 3 years of arbitration, his first 3 years of free agency, and there's a club option for the fourth year. For this contract, they pay him arbitration rates. They're going to pay him $4 million next year, $9 million in 2024, and then when he would be in his last year of arbitration, they're paying him $15 million, which is what they'll pay him for the duration of that contract. What do you guys think?
I'm a little bit weirded out. It's a little fishy how cheap they're getting these players. Um, I mean, obviously on the surface, seeing how many players have been locked down for so cheap, it looks bad on the surface. But Sean Murphy might be a ring chaser. He maybe just doesn't care about the money as much. I mean, 73 million is a lot of money, but he's the top five catcher in baseball, maybe higher than that, obviously. A top five catcher in baseball at probably the scarcest position in all of baseball should be getting paid a lot more than this. And so the Braves got themselves another steal. And it's kind of just confusing how they're doing this and how they're getting away with it. But I mean, I guess if these players are willing to play for less money for a better chance of winning the championship, I guess that's what they're doing in Atlanta right now.
I think it has to be exactly that. It has to be like, hey, you got to buy into what we're doing. Like, you're not going to get as big of a paycheck as you're going to get, but here's guaranteed money. So, like, even if you get hurt, you still have this guaranteed money, and you get to play for a team that's going to be competing for at least the next 5 years.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Steph, what do you got to say as a Nats fan?
I just hate the Braves. They do everything that I want the Nats to do, but they're not going to do until we sell the team. It's just annoying, right? Because like they've locked down Michael Harris, Ronald Acuna Jr., now Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, they let Freddie Freeman walk, and I feel like they've just gotten better since then. And it's just annoying as an NL East fan.
Yeah. Like, you see the Braves, and it's honestly like, how can we compete with them?
I mean,
Because like,
yeah,
their next big free agent is Max Fried in 2024, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's extended.
it would not shock me either.
Yeah,
I mean, and you got the Mets spending almost $1 billion in the offseason, and people are still saying, "Oh, the Braves are going to win it easily."
yeah,
That's just good management. When the Braves are considered the favorites to win the division after spending probably $500 million less than the
yeah,
Mets, it's a perfectly run organization.
yeah. And the thing with that is, like, these Mets contracts. Think about it. Like, Lindor is going to be in like year 7 or 8 of this contract, so he's not going to be as effective. Verlander and Scherzer will most likely be retired and gone. Like, their contracts expire in a year or two each. Like, 2 or 3 years, right? The Braves will be losing Max Fried and Kyle Wright. That's it. That is it. Ozzie Albies, Vaughn Grissom, Ronald Acuna, Spencer Strider, Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, and Michael Harris are all still on that team after the 2026 season, unless they are obviously traded or DFA'd. But I don't see that happening.
And you don't even have to sign them for $300 million like the Mets do. So it's just they keep winning. They keep winning. They don't have a good farm system anymore, but who needs a good farm system when every single position on the field is already taken?
Yeah.
They are set.
Yeah, and they'll develop talent like where they can trade it for starting pitching, because I think that's going to be their only scarcity at any point. It looks like it's going to be starting pitching
Yeah.
unless they extend Max Fried. Because
And they
right
already have a
now,
three-headed monster out there anyways.
yeah, because honestly, I don't know if Spencer Strider is what he was last year. I don't think he is. I think he's a 3.5, like a 3.5 ERA pitcher, but he'll strike out a ton of people, which is still very effective. It's just you need him to be a little bit more.
I think I disagree with that just because I looked at Strider's game log. I tracked this guy very closely last year because I enjoyed watching him pitch. He almost got better against better teams. Like he would play the Yankees and he went like a full game against like these really good hitting teams. But then he would manage to get shelled by like the Marlins or something, like teams that shouldn't be hitting him. I don't know what that means as a pitcher, but he does well against good competition. Obviously, it didn't work well in the postseason, but he was also coming off an injury. So it was different.
That's what I'm more so referring to when I say I don't really know what he is, because I don't know how
Yeah.
much that oblique injury is going to hinder him as a pitcher. Because you saw his velo dip 2 or 3 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and how vulnerable it made him.
Yeah, and I think that's what a rushed recovery does to a pitcher. I think a full offseason, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be watching Strider closely next season because he could very well be even better than he was this season, or he could fall off. I don't know.
I think that the pitching staff actually might get better. I'm not saying Strider specifically, but having that Sean Murphy consistency behind the plate, it's a catcher you get familiar with, and he's a really good defensive catcher too.
The whole team is good defensively now. I mean, you got Matt Olson, Gold Glove, first base. Acuna's got speed out there and a really good arm. I'm not sure how good he is actually fielding, but he's got that arm strength. Um, you got Michael Harris, who's Gold Glove defense. Austin Riley's probably the worst fielder on the team, but he makes up for it behind the other way on the other field. Like it's this team is good everywhere.
I don't see a weakness in the Braves, and I think that's obviously you'll hear about it more as we go towards our projections, but I still think that's why they're the better team than the Mets.
It's honestly just beautiful to see how well this is played out. Obviously, I'm not happy about it because it's not my team, but this is what happens when you really maximize. This is truly the greatest case scenario, unless they retained Freddie, probably. Maybe that would have been a little bit better. But now you have Matt Olson, who is like maybe a step below, but not that much worse. You're not getting like a backup guy.
Yeah, I think the reason the Braves are able to do what they're doing is because, and another reason why they let the Freddie Freeman and Dansby Swanson walk is because they don't have to pay these guys super high AAVs. Think about it. I think Austin Riley's their highest one. It's only 22, 23 million. So that makes me think that Max Fried actually might hit free agency because he's going to be a guy that commands 25 to $30 million a year. Like they
Yeah,
have all these team controlled options, but they're able to do it because all the other players have low average annual values.
yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me if they pay him a long term deal, just because they haven't really pulled the trigger on a really expensive one yet. But maybe that's just not how they play the game, and that's worked for them. So maybe they will let him walk, and maybe they'll get someone for cheaper. But it wouldn't surprise me with that leftover money that they have from saving all that money. I think that will maybe give room for the Braves to afford him.